Hello, my name is Dominic Underhallhouse and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. So the last couple of videos that we've been doing a couple of sort of state of the game affairs, we've looked at patch notes, we've looked at the movement speed increase, and now I think it's time to get back to a bit of gameplay. So what we're going to do is use a list that actually takes advantage of some of these changes. So the list that I've put together, we've got basically a new list to take as much advantage of the movement speed additions to Extilior and to other melee units. And part of what we're trying to do here is actually just deploy really aggressively. So what I've done is I've put together a list that actually uses entirely melee units and Quetzalli. So Quetzalli is going to be pretty much a mainstay in this sort of list. We need that ability to close in on our opponents. Crankbait is going to do part of that job as well. So between those two units, that's our sort of gap closing. But with Extilior's now faster movement speed, being able to deploy really aggressively towards the opponent is going to be a huge part of this game plan. So what we're likely going to be doing is looking to deploy either Antios Gauntlet or Drumdancer Tlalli on turn 1. Turn 2, we actually have a break in our cinder curve here. So a lot of the time people would consider playing Ursix Scattervine. It's probably not the right choice. It's usually not going to be, the most impactful. But what can be useful is either using that time if you get in range for an Extilior spin, especially if you've got one of the movement assists, that can be useful there. We've got both Antios and Drumdancer have 2 Cinder abilities, so that's likely going to be our turn 2 play. Followed by turn 3, either Blindsider Eztli or Crankbait herself, and then turn 4 we follow it up with either Torian Guardian if we're defensive, Amplifier Bitol if we're aggressive, and we can always just change up the curve if we want to. If we don't use something on 2 Cinder, we can then potentially play either Bitol or Quetzalli the following turn and just use that to close the gap even further. So a lot of interesting sort of lines here. Scattervine is mostly going to be used as a bit of a finisher, probably alongside Amplifier Bitol, but I'm really interested to see how aggressively we can deploy. And part of the reason I wanted to try this out is because both of Antios and Drumdancer have more health than Maximus does. So placing these 2 units right at the front as soon as we can get that chance to deploy could end up actually being a reasonable chance of getting onto the enemy captains before they die. So I want to give that a shot and see what works out. We'll pick the Moonfall animation here because we do have one of our legendary rarity units in Crankbait here, so if Crankbait kills things we'll get some cool animations. So we're going to hop into the game in a moment, but what I would ask you is if you're one of the people that watches these videos and hasn't subscribed already, please do consider clicking that button. It really does make a big difference to me. I'm trying to push up for 250 subscribers at the moment, so if we can hit that total it would mean the world to me, and every single person does matter towards that goal. So hit that button. If you've got any comments, make sure you pop that down there as well and let me know what you think of this list, what improvements you'd make, and most importantly where I've gone wrong and how you can just absolutely put me in my place and tell me I've played badly, I've missed lethal, I've gone into the wrong position. Always happy to hear it. So once we get into a game I'll jump back in and we can start playing on from there. Okay, so we've got our game. We get to see who our opponent's going to be. This is going to be our opponent's Extilior mirror match because we are the shiny version of Extilior and they are the gloom side. So, our opponent conceded immediately. Well, that's somewhat sad. It's not quite what I was hoping for. Do you know what? I was going to cut this out of the video, but the fact that we did absolutely nothing, and that's what unlocked us the Extilior reward, feels pretty fitting for me. So, I might just have to leave that in. We'll queue up again and try again for another game. Okay, we've managed to pick up a game. We've got an opponent who I think that looks to be the glowing paint, so we could actually have a very interesting setup here with someone who's a little bit more experienced at the game. So we know Escape Patch would be good here, but we can't pass up a Vortex Beam and Stasis with an Extilior list. So our opponent's level 27, but that's definitely a glowing paint underneath there. There's no way that it's not. So we're going to have to just start making our way towards the opponent. Them hitting that shot straight away is pretty disappointing for us. We can't quite get in range or anything here, so what we are going to do is probably actually just hide. Turn 1, if this is a Maximus, it is. So what we're going to do, Maximus with his reduced movement speed is actually going to have a hard time getting angles on certain things. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to place Antios Gauntlet, because Antios I believe will have just as good a chance as Tlalli as hitting something and can potentially function better on its own. Quetzalli isn't something we want to make sure we have on the battlefield though, so let's play Antios because we don't mind Antios dying as much. We're going to try and take a cautious approach here. We haven't got any protection for Extilior in this list whatsoever. We're going to be going all out with the aggressiveness. So, next turn we've got a few different things we can do. If we can get both of us into range of, Maximus here, then we've got some pretty good angles, especially using our Vortex. And we could play something like Blindsider Eztli and Tlalli on the same turn. And I think that's going to be likely what we do. But it depends on if we've got enough damage. So I think we're more likely to try and just squeeze in.
Come on, everyone, look alive.
Okay, that miss is quite important. And whatever they play here is important as well. Okay, with that being Beatrice, it's an interesting spot because we've got to figure out, you know, what our best option is from here. Whatever it is, it's going to involve getting a Vortex in this position. So we're going to move here. Honestly, I think this looks like a pretty good Vortex target to me. Get everyone into range. We just want to make sure that Maximus is in base contact with us. He is. Perfect. So we'll sort of justice this. Get our attack in here. So Maximus is now dead. We want to make sure that where Antios goes, wherever it goes, it doesn't end up in melee, sort of behind Extilior at any point. So we probably just want to go around here to make them go back in this direction, and we can gain 2 Cinder. And while it's not the best use of our Cinder here, we're going to place Tlalli over here, and we're going to save for 4 Cinder next turn. So the good thing about having 4 Cinder next turn is we can probably end up playing Torian Guardian here, but we could also play Blindsider Eztli and look to protect ourselves to save a Cinder for the following turn, and play something like, I don't know, maybe a Quetzalli if we need to, but either way, I think we're not in the worst spot here. We also have enough damage onto Beatrice here that we could potentially kill her next turn with both Antios and Extilior together. So we could potentially do that and play a 2-drop. I do think it's more likely that we want to actually just go ahead and play something else, but we'll see what the opponent does and move in from there. Okay, so they've got a Snareling. So Snareling is probably one of the most difficult models for us to deal with when it comes to playing this sort of game, because it's going to keep all of our melee units at range the entire time. So I need to figure out how to play around that. And to be completely honest, I think it's a case of trying to get in range to Vortex it and just deal next turn. I've just realised we're actually trapped in by Extilior. So trapped in with Extilior here from Beatrice, so we're probably going to be forced to actually just kill Beatrice here, and maybe even just deploy something less useful. So we can get to the point where we do 2 damage here and 1 there, but that's not going to be enough by playing Bitol. So I actually think we do have to use all of our Cinder on abilities here. I don't like it. I'm trying to see if there's another route, because we could actually get into range here. We take a lot of damage back is the issue, because we would be able to deal. So if we play Bitol here, we could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can actually deal enough. Everything is going to take a bunch of damage, but I think deploying something onto the battlefield is worth it over not deploying anything. And I think we'd rather take the damage on our captain. Yeah, so it's going to take a lot of damage. This is what we want to go for here, because we want to keep Tlalli having taken the least damage. That crit's going to hurt us. But this does get us that finish. We get to shield something, and then Extilior can now move up towards Snareling. So next turn we're going to have both the stun available and a Vortex. So this has put us in a pretty decent spot. This could be a Disruptor, or could be their own stun maybe. But this isn't the worst spot to be in. So the fact that we've taken a lot of damage is obviously quite a difficult thing to deal with. But what we have done is put a lot more units on the battlefield in exchange for that. So yeah, this was obviously going to be the case. If they don't move too far, so that might actually be something we could Vortex into range of, especially if they push us back slightly. So I'm not going to be surprised here if we can actually place something into range of them using Vortex Beam. And maybe we'd be able to actually deal damage to the Snareling and start, progressing on that front. We could even just stun something else if we need to, like a Shrapnel.
Awaiting directive.
So can we get this? I think we are just out of being able to get this. So are we? Yeah, we're slightly over that, unfortunately.
A slap is an
So this is going to be a turn where I think we're just going to use our abilities to kill their shrapnel. So we're going to move over here with Bitol.
Taste the sun.
We're going to use 2 Cinder here.
Let's give them an encore.
We'll just move this into this direction as well, so we should pull us into range of being able to use Amplifier Bitol's ability. Perfect. So we'll inner energy ourselves.
Retaliation is unwise.
Oh no, we're actually not in range. I thought that was in. Oh, I've messed this up.
No glove.
That is
no love.
absolutely terrible. Well, that's about as bad as that could go. So that's always good.
Limited.
So I guess we actually just stun this, hit it for what we can do.
Sure.
Moving closer where we can.
Be fierce.
Be disappointed. Gain our 2 Cinder. And probably just Shield of Hope there. I don't feel very happy about that at all. I honestly thought we were guaranteed to get that. Otherwise I would have done what I'd normally do is Vortex afterwards to guarantee pulling the 2 together. But I thought that was a guaranteed attack. So that was absolutely an error on my part there. I should have played that very differently. I've had to waste our stun and 4 Cinder, which is pretty brutal. Considering we could have had out either Blindsider Eztli or Torian Guardian here, that's a pretty big downside.
Now we're talking.
So, depending on what they do, they're going for sort of shoot and then to back off again, or maybe they're just trying to get closer up. So, depending on what they do here, we actually do have Quetzalli to potentially play next turn, so that does mean that we can kill Snareling if we need to. However, I think what we need to be doing is actually just trying to deal damage to Shrapnel. I'll keep forgetting all my characters' names today. So, we've got 6 Cinder available, so we can actually just use the Rapid Fire and still play something out here, which works out well for us.
I was being tied.
And that's their Bitol. Okay, that miss is big for us. I don't mind if they place a mine at all. It doesn't matter in the slightest to me.
Focus on the win.
Because what we can do...
Impact.
Oh, hang on, we're at 2 damage, not 3. Okay, so who was immobilised? It was here, wasn't it? Yeah, that's immobilised, so... I think we do just pummel here. Get these attacks in. We can move over this direction.
Blow by blow.
Get this attack here. And then it's just a case of what do we want to deploy from this point onwards. So I think what I'm going to do is place Torian Guardian here to block things up in this direction.
I won't bite.
And to be honest, the only thing we've then got left is Amplifier Bitol for us. And Bitol can just move over here. Get everything we need to in range already. Protect it as much as possible. So this should... yeah, so this is buffing everything we want it to, and everything is protected as much as it can be. So I think this is a pretty reasonable spot for where to place things. They can go ahead and try and kill our units here with a shot and a gravity disc, but I think we're okay there. We've still got all 8 units, and they're actually down to 5 in total, and they have to use the gravity disc here, so it's another couple of Cinder just to take Antios off the battlefield, and we can start applying pressure next turn with our Vortex being back up as well, especially with Quetzalli. So yeah, it's going to deal 2 damage there, that's fine. But we've got a very good chance of actually just straight up killing their Amplifier Bitol. We can start putting pressure onto their captain soon. We've got a lot of damage that can come their way. So with Extilior's movement, we're actually only just short of killing Bitol with that alone. It's just going to be interesting what they try to Snareling here. I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and Snareling Bitol. Okay, that being a miss is really good for us. We can now just ignore Snareling and run down here. And that's absolutely what we're going to do. So we're going to move forward first with as many things as we can, then deploy our Quetzalli and consider how to move from there. Yep, and what's their 4-drop going to be, or what they're spending 4 Cinder on? Okay, so they've gone for the mine. Oh, fine, let's run. So that's Tari Arsenal. Not as much of a threat when we've got this to deal with here.
Awaiting direction.
So I think we just start moving in that direction. So I'll move over here. Not quite in melee range here, but keep moving. Bitol up. Torian up. And now I actually think we don't need more than one additional movement per unit. And I think we're actually going to go right in the middle here, so everything can just move as and when it needs to.
Taste the sun.
So Tlalli's going to move over here. And
Utilizing.
we will. I think here we're actually going to Battle Frenzy herself just to kill Taria.
Ignite your fire.
Ready.
Move these two.
I'll keep my eyes on you.
We couldn't quite get range. That was
Feel that energy?
Again, I keep making these mistakes today. So the question is there a route to get things in range where I want them to be? I don't think there is. Does this have movement still? No. So actually what I'm going to do is just move Bitol in this direction. And maybe just pull her down this way to avoid snailing slightly. Oh, hang on. Oh, I moved out of... Oh my goodness. I've messed up so many times this game. I was supposed to basically keep Bitol in range here. I've messed up basically the Quetzalli activations. So now we've actually left them in rapid fire. They can kill one of our units. Snailing can block Bitol. We've really... Like, realistically, if I'd have played this properly, I'm fairly confident I should have been able to kill both Taria and Amplifier Bitol and potentially put some damage onto them as well. So that's quite awkward here, but we're not doing too bad. We've kind of blocked our own route here, but we can move around with Quetzalli and give us routes into different things. Yeah, so they're just going for damage to face here, which is probably correct. They've actually got lethal if they do this correctly. So yeah, so my misplays here have cost us hugely, because Bitol hasn't attacked, so they need to miss one of these at like 90 something, yeah. There we go. So I feel like we should have won that game. I feel like a lot of that was me misplaying constantly, but our opponent played really well. They kept an eye out on where the line was there. We've definitely not my proudest moment, but at least you can tell that I'm not the sort of player that's just going to edit out my defeats. You know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh no, I never lost a game to someone by making significant numbers of misplays in a row. I wouldn't do that. I'm a great player. It was definitely a mistake multiple times there, but our opponent played really well. They didn't make as many mistakes as we did. They capitalised on our mistakes really well, and they spotted when the lethal was with really sort of good timing on that as well. So well played to our opponent. Great game, and we're going to jump into another one and see what we can find from there. I was expecting that we might get a game straight away, but I thought maybe we'd have a little break. I could have a sip of water, but we are going to go straight into the next game. Hopefully it'll be an interesting one. Ooh, this is a same opponent. We're in for a tough time. This map is brutal for Extilior. Okay, Extilior mirror match. Interesting. Let's see what we've got. Vortex and Corrosive seems like a fantastic plan here. Plink and Stimburst is a very close second, but Vortex Corrosive would be great, and these are the furthest apart spawns you could get. If we were in any other matchup, I'd feel quite worried for us, because having to traverse this entire map is a huge deal. I'm still not exactly feeling great, because they're probably going to have a Maximus, and we are very much a melee list. So this is going to be difficult for us no matter what, but at least we're not, completely out of it. With them going first, we at least get to see what they're doing. So we kind of wanted them to go down, because there's a world where we can hide over here. Yes, they have got Maximus.
Input orders.
So we're just going to move over here. So how far is Maximus's movement? It's not great at the moment, so can we deploy Antios? So I don't know if we're going to be in hard cover here, but I'm actually going to do it just to check. Because we don't have to turn 2 plays anyway, and this might leave us in a world where we can learn something. Okay, so they have got an easy line of sight there. That's absolutely fine, and if they go back behind here, then that's great for us because we can just Vortex. If I were them, I'd probably run further away at this point, knowing that we only have melee units. Because now, depending on what they play, this looks like probably a Beatrice, given that they're playing it so far forward. Yep, it is. That's absolutely fine. So, oh, Blink as well. Okay, so that's a really good start for them. But because we've got 2 Cinder here, we can again look for playing things aggressively, but... Sorry, playing things up front, but we can actually just move up here, probably as far away from them as we can get. from their Beatrice probably.
A diversion.
There we go. I think here the only realistic option is to inner energy and kill that Maximus. And just bring ourselves as far forward as possible and hope that Beatrice can't fully block us off. We'll gain our Cinder, and I think Tlalli is the right play. And we want Tlalli to be somewhere near Antios, because that way, if they want to deal with it, they have to go through all of their basically have to spend Cinder on their spin to kill Antios straight away. Otherwise we're going to deal 8 to them next turn most likely, or we can just deploy a unit. So we'll see what they decide to do here. Okay, so they've got Stitchy McPatchy. They've just gone for the hit onto us in the blink, that's fine. So, there's a world here where we can actually just...
Resist them.
Okay, Cinder Infusion. If we can get into range of that, we will do, and we'll just kill it.
No glove.
Yeah, because we don't want to give them additional opportunities here. So, this is another one of those turns where we're missing out on playing something.
Let's give them an encore.
But what we want to do is just keep them... This stops them having anywhere near as much Cinder in future. Brilliant. That is exactly what we wanted. Now we can move. So we're going to be blocked off here no matter what. So the question is, do we want to try and deal with this the easy way? Or how do we want to deal with it? So Extilior's going to have to go this way. So I don't think there's a world in which there's any reason not to try and do something with Tlalli here. The question is, do we use our corrosive particles to deal 4 damage to Beatrice, leave her on 3? I think the answer is actually yes, because that leaves us in a position where Extilior on his own can deal with her next turn. And any crits here are good news for us as well. We also want to go at an angle, again, to stop Beatrice having good angles. And oh yeah, she also hit her own captain. That was totally intentional. I keep forgetting how long Beatrice's passive is now. It's so much clearer. Yeah, so this is what we knew they'd have to do. That's fine. If Beatrice attacks first, that's good for us, because it just hits their Extilior. Again, though, I really feel like the distance we've managed to close so quickly is really useful. Okay, so they put the shield onto Beatrice. If they place a unit here... Oh, it's Torian. Okay. Yeah, so they haven't got anything that they're going to hit with their spear here, so it's fine either way for them. Oh no, it looks like they're going to hit Torian, maybe. I can't quite tell. Maybe it doesn't have the animation around it. They're just, I think, figuring out whether it's worth it. Yeah, clink. And, oh, is Beatrice going to run? It's interesting if she runs. Shield is fine. Okay, so here we've got enough Cinder to just play something useful. So it's probably just going to be Amplifier Bitol and then Spin, because that's enough damage to kill here, and it's going to damage here as well.
Peak efficiency.
Yeah, so let's Amplifier Bitol. Pop it over here so we get better angles.
Can you believe this?
We'll spin here. Hit both of these.
You cannot alter your fate.
And we'll just make sure we get this kill here. This should put a shield hopefully onto... Yeah, I was going to say hopefully onto Tlalli, which it did.
Focus on the wind.
I actually think... I'm almost tempted to go for the hit here, but it's just a risk because we're going to get hit back. So I'm just going to do this and then move their Torian away slightly, I believe. Because I don't want Tlalli to die. If I pull them away,
your actions.
We might just be alright.
Assistance.
Yeah, there we go.
Input orders.
This is about what we wanted. I suppose we could just move up here, make it even more difficult for them, but we want to stay in melee range.
Executing.
So, I feel okay about here. What have they got coming in this direction?
Head on a swivel.
Oh, Savria. Now I'm trying to get really good at saying Savria instead of Savria, because that is her name. It's Savria, not Savria. Okay, so, yep, spin is good. We did miss the crackback, and the question is, are we going to hit this one here? What do we get? Okay, hitting that's important, because that means that we've got a lot more damage coming next turn. Again, so this is an interesting thing that seems to sometimes happen with Extilior, is that you end up just throwing damage out there on a regular basis. So basically, I think I need to spin here no matter what. But the question is, do I want to play something, or do I want to just do even more damage here? So I'm going to spin first. I mean, we could just go for a hit of 6 here, put them down to 8. But we could also just play Blindsider Eztli. How far have we got for movement? So if we stay here, we can just place Eztli over here. Bitol doesn't even need to move. The question is, so if we hit, what happens on the backswing? So we take 2, down to 8. Yeah, so we should still be alive here, because we take 5, 6, 7, 8 total. So I'm going to hit here and hope that the maths work out with no crits from that.
Damage insignificant. Ready.
There we go. Because if they crit, basically they could potentially get... They've got 5, so they need to do a 2 additional damage crit, and then they've got a plink to finish us off. Now if this is a Quetzalli and they run away, I think we're in danger. Okay, there's their Cinder Infusion, yep. So that means there's no Quetzalli here. And they can plink us. They can plink themselves to heal one and run away, that also works. But we've got Vortex and Corrosive here. So with those, I think we're very safe. Depending on where they deploy, because we can also just pull Extilior and things forwards.
I'm the crew's cutter.
Is this plink? Yeah.
Righteous intent.
So the question here is, can we just pull Extilior into range easy enough?
Better watch my step.
Or do we need to try something funky? So that's going to make him ignore the first damage. Which is fine. So let's try pulling these two in this direction and seeing how close we get. This might be a case where we need to just run away. Okay, that should be fine. The question is, can we get both units in range? Do you know what we can do actually is if we move just to here, we can sort of justice this, which ignores the first damage. Then we can Battle Frenzy here. We need to spend 4 Cinder, or like all of our Cinder rather. So we'll pop Torian Guardian down over here.
Look at what I've got here.
Move over here, get in range, pop this down, and get hopefully a nice big lethal attack. That was actually very close. Oh wow, we crit them. Wait. Oh no, Corrosive. I was wondering how that did 8 with a crit. It was supposed to be maximum 2, but yeah, Corrosive as well. That was actually a really close game, so well done to our opponent, Haxa Maxa. Did a great job there. Again, so I'm not a very good Extilior player, just to clarify that. If it hadn't become incredibly obvious from this already, I'm really not the best. But, having a lot of fun with it. We might just see if we can get one more game in. If we can get one more, that would be great for the video. We've got the one sort of novelty unlock the Extilior portrait game at the beginning. But if we can get one more fairly shortly, then that would be great. And so I'll join you back once we're in game. Okay, we're back. We're on the same map again, and it looks like actually against the same opponent. So this should be interesting, because they did really well versus us last time. They had a few things that did really well against us. So here, I do like these abilities, but Disruptor and Stim Burst is a thing of beauty. We've got the second or third shortest rush distance here, and they're going first again. So this is going to be Maximus behind here, I imagine. It's better to go this angle because it's harder to hide on this side than, like, if they're placed up here, it's easier to hide down here.
This will be over real quick.
So we're actually just going to move.
Ready.
We'll move to here with this character, and then again, Antios we probably want to keep as safe as possible. So we'll pop Antios up here. They're not going to be expecting this much movement next turn. So there's a very good chance we can do this. So I think one of the things this list is missing is that we do really well with a good melee 2-drop. The only one in the game is Scattervine at the moment, and it just doesn't really hold its worth in terms of actually playing it early on. Where they move with Maximus is interesting here, because if they move, out of range but still forwards, we can just Stim Burst and kill it without having to use our Disruptor, and that would be a huge benefit to us. So that would be a nice a nice difference if it's possible. This is probably their Beatrice, because Beatrice did us a lot of trouble last time. We'll just see where they go out from here. We have got a lot of things to do. Okay, here's Beatrice. So again, if we can get both our units into range, we can kill Maximus without actually having to use any Cinder. Okay, so if we go here first. Yeah, so we're going to be slightly short on that front. So what we'll do is we'll use our second wind.
In control.
We'll deploy Bitol here. Get this attack for 3 and see what happens here. Okay, it wasn't a crit, which is pretty reasonable. Wasn't expecting one, but it'd be nice if it happened. Move forward, and then we need to try and find a way to make this so that it's harder for them to get a good angle into this. So we're going to go here. They might be able to move up here and get an angle down, but they can't get an angle into all 3 of our units using Beatrice. And with a shield here, we're a little bit more safe. So Beatrice is going to be great in this position, but we're at least relatively safe. So that's their Tlalli. They can't use it quite yet. They're still out of range slightly. So we'll see what we can do on this next turn. Yeah, so they're going to be able to hit 1, possibly 2 of our units. Oh, are they going to hit all 3? Okay, it does only hit 2, that's good, but this is not good for our poor little Antios. So with 3 Cinder next turn, it's only Eztli that we might want to play. So I think it's quite likely that we actually just try and move up and kill Tlalli here and sacrifice our Antios and maybe just push a little bit of damage over here. I think the issue with this list is it's very hard to find opportunities to play everything we want to. So, for instance here, we need to keep this in range. So about here is good. This is then going to die next turn is the issue, and we don't have that much more development. So we can put more defense here, that works. We can play around Drumdancer. So we can hit Beatrice for 2 here. Again, she hits us back though is the issue, and she hits us back fairly hard, but we need to find a way to kill her. This isn't one of those matchups where we can just ignore her. We need to find a way through because we are all melee. So we're going to really struggle if we can't get through Beatrice at some point. And them having Plink really does put us on a clock as well. Okay, so Eztli also needs to die. If this is the heal, that's kind of okay. Oh, they don't have enough Cinder to heal. Interesting. Yeah, so this is actually alright for us. Yeah, okay there. Plink to heal, I assume.
That is wise.
Okay. So next turn we've got 6 Cinder. So with Bitol here, we can actually kill Eztli and play out something like Torian.
Instructions.
So I think that's going to be our game plan here is... So we'll just Stim Burst, make it a bit easier.
Manipulating.
We'll get this spin and hit.
Termination is inevitable.
And then the question is, what do we do from here? So we can move over here and start damaging things. Honestly, I think we're best to just hide in this direction. And we need... So Beatrice is out of range. Can't forget that. So if Beatrice is out of range, Extilior is in range. And maybe we just need to look at applying damage, applying pressure next turn. So it could even be that we want an Eztli play next turn. I think that's what we're going to do. Is we're going to play Eztli. We've got 6 Cinder next turn, so we can afford to spend 1 because otherwise we only need 4 for our activator on the battlefield. So we're going to spend this Cinder here, and we'll save our Disruptor for next turn to try and just start really chipping away at their board state. So again, we're in a good board state, but we're far, far behind in terms of life total. What's this going to be? A big base? I'm curious. I'm very curious as to what that's going to be. The good news is, looking at this board state, we can actually use Eztli if we need to take 1 shot to kill Beatrice. So that saves us a lot of damage here. But if they go for an attack, we're actually not far off becoming lethal.
Wow, it's like a little impala.
If they go for this, yeah, we could actually have lethal next turn.
Stop this now.
Especially if they attack through us into their captain. Yeah, they can go for Plink either way.
Intriguing design.
If this is their full turn, I don't feel bad here at all. I think we might have a good chance here. Okay. So it's Sword of Justice first.
Punishment.
I think we've got this. Yeah, I think we've got it. So we're going to attack them and not take a crit back. Oh, we hit the crit. Perfect. Go down to 3.
Be fierce and
We're going
fun.
to push their... Oh, we can't push Extilior, so we might just have to push Eztli. So we're going to Battle Frenzy Eztli. Shield of Hope ourselves to get fast. Get over here. And make sure we get that damage in. Perfect. So that was... Again, that one was I felt a little bit more in control there. I know I got low on life, but... Again, building up the board state where we can just take the enemy captain out in one turn, I feel a lot more comfortable in those sort of games than I do in ones where I'm a bit unsure what's going to happen. We're doing really well with our XP. Is there anyone here that hasn't got to rank 3 yet? Antios hasn't got to rank 3. Or Crankbait, but I'm not... All 3 of these, basically. So we're getting some nice icons, like Eztli's icons looking quite nice there. Same with some of these, but we're getting there gradually. All in all, I feel like it's very noticeable that Extilior moves faster now. We didn't come against many sort of range units, but you'll notice that even though our opponent wasn't playing as safe as possible, with any movement assist, we were pretty much able to kill Maximus whenever we came into range. It was a lot more reasonable than I thought it was going to be. Maximus doesn't feel anywhere near as much of a threat as he used to. I think the movement change is actually a big deal. Like, Maximus is still great, he's still probably the best one drop by a significant margin, and I think this list really could do with being a bit of a hybrid list, not being full melee, maybe putting out things that could find things that could use our curve a little bit better. Like I said, a Deadeye on turn 2 would be a really nice option to have, but Extilior is always about weighing up when to spin and when to play units, and I think we did that pretty well in this, and as in a lot of games, our life total was very much a resource here. We did lose that one game over lots of misplays, lots of missed opportunities really, but our opponent played really well as well. So all in all, I think the game feels a lot better for melee lists. I didn't feel helpless playing Extilior. I know we played against another Extilior twice, but they still had options to sort of move around. They had some melee, so they had some range units, they had healing and things like that. And at no point did I feel like we were really completely out of the game. It is going to be a bit more difficult against things like Zax and Astra where they can block movement, but all in all, I think a pretty good success. So I'd give the list a try. We didn't find the need to use Quetzalli as much as we previously have, which is a sign of how good the movement changes have been, but also I just think it was enjoyable. I'd like to know what you think would be sort of an improvement on this list, how to make it from sort of a fun melee only list, including some range units, some activated abilities, to bring that up to sort of a reasonable semi-competitive, or at least hold your own in PvP list. Make sure you pop that in the comments down below. Hit the subscribe button, it really does help me, it makes my day every time I see those notifications. Hit the like button, and most importantly, have a good day.